a playlist original.
Hey, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. Coming at you with a long overdue news episode, at least for between Gaius and I, because it's been a while since we've done this. We have started the new year off strong with some stuff and got lots planned even for the rest of January. But a lot has happened since we've been back in the booth together, I guess, over the screen.
Yep,
So a lot of
virtually.
info, yeah, to chat about even just online together for the first time. A lot of exciting stuff too today. So yeah, feeling very excited about getting into some of the bread and butter of what our show usually looks like. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I know. So this is officially our first news show of the year. I guess we called it the Golden Globe winners, but that was like a short, almost felt like a mini bonus
Right.
episode. Kind of felt like that a little bit. But yeah, I think the last time I covered news was with JC, and that was in November, maybe
Wow.
October, because I think I somewhere in there. So it had been a while, and I was gonna, like I said, try to do news with other people, but it just wasn't the same. It was like harder to do with like new guests, and like new guests really like to talk about individual movies, so that's why we pivoted away from news
Right.
while you were busy. But now that you're back, we can do news a lot. And thank you, Hollywood, for giving us a lot to talk about because there's a
I
lot
mean,
going on.
I mean, there's LA fires aside. I know that has kind of been a
Yeah.
huge like global news item that has kind of involved Hollywood and a lot of names that we are usually talking about. But just aside from that, there's been a lot of new projects announced, a lot of
Yeah.
awesome trailers at the beginning of the year where it's usually sort of a slow point in the movie season. It's been, really hot.
Yeah.
Which that was a really weird pun. I didn't mean it that way, but it's been off to a really like hefty start. And so I'm really
Yeah.
excited at that. But one thing, I guess, just before this to preface, as of recording, just earlier today, a few hours ago, had the misfortune of reading that famed American filmmaker David Lynch, a personal favorite filmmaker of mine, passed away today on January the 16th. That's the day that we're filming this episode. So I was very sad to see that. I shared that with you as soon as I saw it. I'm not sure how long the news had broke before I saw it earlier in the afternoon, but very sad
Yeah,
day for the industry. He was
you
amazing
were
filmmaker.
you were pretty you sent it to me not too long after I saw it, so like right around the time it broke. I was actually working on another story for the website. I actually was working on a story that we're going to talk about later. It was Justin
Okay.
Baldoni suing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. We had gotten that, and I was working on that, and then I saw that come in, and then I got a message saying like, "Oh, can you stop working on that and focus on this?" But thankfully, someone else was like, "No, I'll cover the David Lynch stuff," because that was very, that's a breaking story, and it's pivotal for a movie website to discuss when someone like that passes away. It was, I think he was like 78 years old, right? I think that's how old he
That's
was
right.
when he passed. And he had mentioned last year because he suffered from emphysema because he smoked a lot, so
Yes,
much,
he
and
did.
he said that basically he couldn't like go and direct anything anymore because he was basically confined to his home.
He couldn't even walk
Because
across a room, he
he
said,
can't even
without being
walk.
out of
Yeah,
breath. Yeah.
breath. And they're not saying the exact cause of death yet, but he did have to evacuate because of one of the fires here, one of the Sunset Fire specifically. And they said that his health took a like drastic turn like shortly after that. So I just wonder if like a combination, like the air was so bad up there,
Yeah.
because of all the fires. I wonder if that played a part in it. They didn't really say, but
Right.
what's interesting though is that in the cinephile world on social media, there can be a lot of discourse about like, you don't like this, you should like that, why you hate this, why you're not good at this, that kind of stuff. Everyone kind
Right.
of came together today with a universal praise of him as a filmmaker. If anything, if you didn't like necessarily get his movies, you can respect him for being ambitious and pretty fearless as a filmmaker, and being completely unapologetic about what his vision is, and when things didn't quite work, he was very honest about it. One big example of that being the Dune movie that he directed in the 80s. He was very vocal about how that didn't work and why it didn't work, but it should be noted that he had a lot of projects that really did work. I mean, a personal favorite of mine, I love Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
It's moody, it's weird, it's very much him, but
I
it's a favorite of mine of his. And then also, if you ever had a chance to watch Twin Peaks, that is also
Yes, Twin
a
Peaks is
great
amazing.
how he made that kind of a mainstreamy kind of show, which is because it's really like offbeat and weird.
I don't know how. I'm glad you mentioned that because I for a filmmaker that is so like he's synonymous with like surrealism, and he was
Yeah,
like my intro into surrealism filmmaking, and even beyond him, I haven't really delved into much. But I every time like there's praise for him, and especially since the announcement of his death, and like you said, the whole film community coming together to honor him and his legacy. I find it so surprising how mainstream he was for such an odd filmmaker. Like his movies are so unconventional and out there in the weirdest ways. Like Twin Peaks, especially, that was a record-breaking network TV
yeah,
phenomenon back in the 90s. And like I watched that a couple of years ago, and a lot of episodes I would be done watching and I would be sitting there like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, and I'm
yeah,
so surprised that it was so popular because of how weird it is. I feel like his movies, like with a modern audience today, if they were coming out, just I don't know if I think he kind of was doing something in the right time. I don't
yeah.
know how that would be received today, and I know obviously people like me are going back and seeing his movies from before I was around and appreciating them. So obviously it's possible, but he just captured this unique vision at the time that he was making movies in his peak that I don't know that it can ever be replicated. But he's awesome. And I was going to ask, put it out there to see what your favorite movie of his was, and it's Mulholland Drive. Is that right?
Yeah, I love Mulholland Drive. Wild at Heart's really good as well. Also Blue Velvet. I need to revisit a
Blue
lot of these.
Velvet's great. Yeah,
I haven't watched these in like
same.
so long, and it's interesting because like I had no I wasn't planning on revisiting any of his movies anytime soon, and it kind of
Nor
sucks when
was
this
I.
happens. Like you feel like,
Yeah,
oh, someone passes away, you're like, oh, like I remember this. I should probably like go back and watch that. I mean, I guess that's one of the things that comes out of when a great artist passes away. Like, there's this great body of work usually that they've left behind. You're like, okay, like you can go back and look at it, and in some kind of way, it keeps them alive. Like they're still alive through their work,
yeah,
and I think a
exactly.
lot of people are going to be doing that with his stuff. And yeah, and like I said, he is not a mainstream filmmaker or auteur at all, but like I think like serialized programming like that became really popular with stuff like Lost, shows like that. I think they owe a debt to like something like Twin Peaks that kind of like made that kind of like, okay, I have to like watch this and pay attention to this week after
Mm,
week in order to really get it, in order to understand it, in order to like really, dive into like all these mysteries, all the like storytelling that he's trying to convey in each episode. I think a lot of shows that try to take that approach later owe a debt to what he did with Twin
100%.
Peaks.
Very
And I'm glad
influential.
he got a chance to kind of bring that back again too. It's interesting because like yeah, Twin Peaks, is it Fire Walk with Me?
Yep.
Which I guess I was watching. I was sent the In Search of Darkness documentary that they do for like horror movies. They did one for the 80s, and they just made a 6-hour one for 1990 to 1994, and they talk
Oh,
about
cool.
that. They talk about that project, and it didn't get good reviews when it came out. It got really scathing reviews, but he everyone that commented on it said that he took a chance and wrote something really, taking the sort of basic like murder mystery plot of what Twin Peaks was, and I know it was much more than that, but really
Hmm.
going off the rails and going really weird with that particular project and doing it because he
Yep.
wanted to. And critics didn't get it, and even some fans at the time didn't really get it. But it's one of those things where later revisionist history, you watch things later, you kind of understand like, oh, this is what he was trying to do. And I think that is that kind of project too. You realize, oh, this is what he was trying to say then, what he wanted to really convey with that story then. So he leaves behind a great body of work. It's not for everyone. I mean, I was talking to a
Definitely
friend that
not.
like I was talking to a friend that has only seen Dune. And I was like, well, I mean, at least see something else, please. Um,
Yeah.
Eraser has another good one. I've been watching it a
That
really
was
long time ago.
that was my intro to David Lynch, and I'm glad I stuck around after because I was very juvenile in my movie loving journey at the time I saw it, and I will be the first to admit I did not get. I could appreciate that he was making something wholly original and authentic and not like anything else I had seen. But it took me a while to really appreciate him. And then when I saw some of his more conventional air
Yeah.
quotes, not a word I associate with David Lynch much, but some of
Yeah.
his more conventional movies after, I sort of got my appreciation for his filmmaking grew. But Mulholland Drive is probably going to be the movie that I revisit, like just in honor of his passing, just to kind of familiarize myself. I only saw it the one time, really liked it. I know that its legacy is huge too, and one that like I've only seen the one time, so I definitely need to kind of, I think I'll learn a lot in that rewatch. But I did watch Lost Highway and Blue Velvet relatively close together in
Yeah.
2024. So I still like, I guess it hasn't been that long since I've been watching a few of his movies, but Eraserhead, long time ago, I saw that. And
Were
the
you
only,
were you like immediately like hooked into like what you like the style and vibe? Like you immediately like got it and really liked it, or did it take you a little bit to
I,
get into
it
it?
took me a while to buy in. Eraserhead was, I, I like that I saw it as my first Lynch because it's his debut, but he
Yeah.
had evolved so much as a filmmaker after that. I would love to go back and rewatch Eraserhead and like kind of see some of those fundamental Lynchian elements in his movies by rewatching it. But I don't have it, so I got to get my hands on it somehow. But Blue Velvet, I think, is my favorite by him, and also it does feel like one of his more straightforward movies. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of the only ones I've seen by him multiple times. But Wild at Heart really jumps out at me too.
Yeah.
And Lost Highway was a lot of fun. That movie was really,
Yeah.
really eerie and different, and then Twin Peaks was a great ride as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, he, like you said it best. He leaves behind a great body of work, and it's a mission of mine to see his whole filmography. But did you ever see Inland
Yeah.
Empire?
No, and I saw that Merck came out of like semi-retirement to post to post
Oh, okay, nice.
a list of his movies, and that one was listed last on his
Okay,
list of David Lynch movies. And I actually saw some other people posting lists on X, and it was kind of listed either middle to last. And I wonder if that's a case of like just not being as good as the other stuff, or if it was like not good at all. Because he had it like Burke had it after Dune, I believe, and Dune's
oh
not good.
boy.
So I mean, but I yeah, I haven't seen it, but I will even check stuff out like that at this point.
It
So yeah.
turns 20 next year, I think. So maybe that'd be something that
Oh
we
well,
look
there we
at.
go.
First time
Something
watch
to
or something.
revisit. There were a
Yeah.
couple of people that said some really great things, like Naomi Watts, who was in Mulholland Drive. She posted on her Instagram and said, "My heart is broken. My buddy Dave. The world will not be the same without him. His creative mentorship was truly powerful." And she said, "He put me on the map. The world I've been trying to break into for 10 plus years, flunking auditions left and right. Finally, I sat in front of a curious man, beaming with light, speaking words from another era, making me laugh and feel at ease." She said, Lynch's wisdom, humor, and love gave me a special sense of belief in myself I never assessed before. That David invited all to glimpse into that world through his exquisite storytelling, which elevated cinema and inspired generations of filmmakers across the globe. I just cannot believe that he's gone. I'm in pieces, but forever grateful for our friendship. And that was her breakout movie, Mulholland Drive.
Hmm.
That did make her a star in a sense. And Nicolas Cage said some great things about him today as well. A lot of people that either worked with him or know of him called him one of our great filmmakers
Yep.
working today. And like, and it's so crazy because I think we've had a discussion like who do we consider our the top filmmakers working in the industry or who have been working in the industry, and I never thought to name him. And maybe because like I don't,
Well, he
maybe
hasn't
because
been
I'm not
active, I guess, in a long time.
a
So
long time, and I guess because like
yeah,
I haven't like watched a lot of his movies in a long time too. I think that had a lot to do
that
with it.
too.
But
Hmm.
I think just people bringing up certain films that he's done and certain things that he's done, I think he probably was, and I will definitely be revisiting some of his stuff. And now I was too young to know the phenomenon of Twin Peaks when it came out. I watched it way
For
later.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Same.
my mom was like, my mom loves shows like that, and she's like, what do you kids say? Like, it had you in a chokehold. That show had you in a complete chokehold, like the entire like every week it was on. So I was like,
Yep.
you know, and then when I watched it as an adult, I was like, oh, this is I would have been hooked on this like if I was watching it live.
I
Like,
wish I could watch it in the context of the 90s and it was coming out. I would have loved to have been able to watch it back then, but I did appreciate it when I did see it in the 2020s. But just
yeah,
obviously in the day and age we live in with like streaming and stuff, not having to wait for those episodes, and especially the cliffhangers he would end episodes on, and just the weird surreal nature of what was going on behind the scenes of this like relatively normal surface level murder mystery, as you were getting at, would have been
Yeah.
so cool to like be so confused and like waiting and craving next week's episode. I wish that I could have experienced the show that way, but for what it was worth, I didn't watch the 2017 like
Like sequel
final
series.
season yet. I
Yeah.
probably will, yeah, or whatever it's called, mini. But just the two seasons of the show and the tie-in movie Fire Walk with Me were great companion pieces to each other and really, really interesting. I won't pretend that I got everything out of it, because I think that he makes things purposely to be
Confusing.
confusing and nonsensical just to see what
Yeah.
you think about it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's he's one of those rare filmmakers that does just inspire people to think for themselves without just giving an answer. Not everything has to make sense, and I really like that about his work. But yeah,
Yeah.
gonna miss him for sure. He was a fantastic filmmaker. I loved his work. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive is on the rewatch list very imminently for sure.
Yeah. I need
That's
to
more time
rewatch
than
a
I
lot of
probably
his
spent
stuff.
talking about him.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, I think at the bottom, the description of this episode, like we'll just like we usually on anniversary episodes we'll put a link to like where can you watch this movie. And I think for just his stuff, just because in case you guys are looking where to find it or where to watch it, we'll just link where you can find some of these movies. If you don't have it on physical media, if there's a place for you guys to watch them, we'll list it at the description of the bottom of this episode so you can all check out his stuff. So because I think it's a good time to revisit his work. Hate to start the show on such a sad note, but still, great filmmaker, and I think that's what you're seeing now. I'm seeing so many tributes to him, not just from like celebrity people, but just like movie fans just posting their stuff on Instagram and X and TikTok while we still have it. And,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
That's another
uh,
big news thing.
yeah. But yeah, definitely will be missed. But certainly one of our most unique, ambitious, fearless filmmakers, and that's what he should be remembered for.
Agreed.
So, so yeah, in the spirit of award season, we told you guys that we were only going to talk about the pick 3 award shows. We covered the Golden Globe winners already, but the SAG nominations came out. Now, award season is weird right now because the LA fires push a lot of this stuff back. The SAG nominations came out. They were supposed to be. They're usually during like a live telecast first thing in the morning. They usually live stream it. They canceled that because I believe it was the second or third day of the LA wildfires, and they thought it'd be in poor taste to do it, so they just released a press release for it. A lot of award season stuff is postponed. Like the Critics' Choice Awards were supposed to be this Sunday. They pushed it to the 26th, and then they pushed it again to an undetermined date in February. They just need to kind of happen before the Oscars. So I mean,
Right.
I think everyone's trying to determine how they should go about celebrating award season, because on the one hand, some people think it's in poor taste to celebrate, what there's an added layer to award season other than the movies. There's a bunch of celebrities getting together, and there's the fancy gift baskets, and there's a lot of money and excess, and that is a part of it. And some people think that's in poor taste to do that when so many people have lost their homes and tragic wildfires. But then the Grammys is doing something, and that's music, but the Grammys is doing something that I think the Oscars and other award shows can learn from that are coming up soon, is that
What's
they're
that?
adding a relief effort portion to the show to raise money during the show.
That's a
So
fantastic idea.
I think that because Stephen King said he's not voting in this year's Oscars because he thinks it's in poor taste, and I understand his sentiment, but I also think that you have to think about the positives of what you can do with that many famous people in the room with that much exposure. Last year, they said 18.5 million people watched the Oscars. So you get that many people watching again this year, and you throw in a portion of the show that kind of throws in an element to add relief of some kind of donation element, charity element to the show. I think there's a benefit to doing it. And so that's why I don't think I don't think they're going to cancel the Oscars by any means, but I think that they're trying to figure out the best way to go about doing it that's respectful, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I think that's the best approach to doing it. I agree. I don't think they're going to cancel it. I also think like if they were to think of like the blow that would be to the Oscars, which have been struggling in viewership over the last few years, like COVID wise, and just
Yeah.
the the blow to the industry that it's already been left after right hook to the movie industry since COVID with this super long strike, the shutdown of theaters, these fires. Like it's just
Yeah.
I agree in a way. Part of me agrees and understands like people like Stephen King that think that that show of excess is in poor taste considering the circumstances of the fires. But then I also think, and I think more of me leans this way, is like, do you let something like tragedy, like something to the scale of these fires, like just define you or the industry? Like it's
Yeah.
already devastating enough. Like, should we let, as an industry as a whole, why should we take away the joy that that night and the awards recognition brings to the industry?
Yeah.
Because I get it, something terrible is going on, and a lot of people probably aren't in the mood to celebrate, and that's understandable. But for those that want to, I think it would be not the most beneficial thing to take away that option
Yeah.
to recognize, because there's people like you and me that for all intents and purposes aren't affected directly by that, but who
Right.
still watch and adore movies all year round. And this is a huge night for us, not to make it about us, but
Yeah.
there's still some value in praising the work of thousands, hundreds of thousands of artists over the
That
last
should be
year.
recognized for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
also, yeah, I think there is also, you know, there's a part of me that I get where Stephen King's coming from. I think he's coming from a good place too. I don't think he's trying
I
to.
agree 100%. Not a
Um,
criticism on him.
but I also think there's some people that might want to watch it as a little bit of levity, like let me take my brain off of like the
Exactly.
serious thing for a little bit, and so that's why I don't think they did cancel the Academy Awards luncheon, which is like a thing that like all the nominees get together at this big lunch event, and it's basically just like a hobnob, like meet and greet before all the
Right.
nominees, and
Think
that
about the
part is
first
excessive,
time
right? You know,
nominees that don't
who
get to
are missing?
experience that.
There's
Yeah,
that,
that
yeah,
sucks. Like I feel
yeah.
bad for those people.
I get why they canceled it because it's
For sure.
it's definitely one of the more superficial aspects of
Yeah, yeah. It's a good way to
award
put it.
season.
Yeah.
But if in any normal year, it'd be a fun thing, like you said, for a
Yeah.
first time nominee to be able to experience that. So I get both sides of it. I think there is a bigger opportunity to honestly raise a lot of money by airing the show as it should be aired. And
100%.
I think we should be thinking about that more than like, oh well, it's in poor taste. Don't think about it like as celebrating award season in the movies. Like think about it as like, all right, let's pivot and like, how do
Mm.
we help use the show to help those in need right now? I mean, I don't necessarily I there have been people that push back on this and think it's kind of rude, but most people definitely have their back, and we don't talk about reality TV on here at all. But Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag lost their house in the fires too. They were on the Hills, a reality show on MTV back in the day. Like
Okay.
they had a reputation on that show for he was the bad boy on that show. He was an asshole, and she was kind of like innocent, kind of before they met, and then they got together, and their brand was like they wanted to be bigger celebrities. That's what they did on that show, and they did that for a number of years until that show burned out, and and at a certain point they were just like how she described it on the talk show recently is that they were kind of house poor. They were like they were doing enough to get by, but they still had to like do what they needed to do to make money. And
Hmm.
they lost their home. And like there are some people that I've learned that like from following this, like I don't think they love LA or people that live in LA. I think there's a stereotype that, everyone's rich here, and that's not true. Even the actors who lost their homes, all of them aren't big name actors. And by the way, when you're not getting work, doesn't mean that like you are necessarily like rich. Some actors are still living like job to job. So I think it's easy for people to say like, well, you lost your house, you can just build a new one, buy a new one, and that's not how that works. But what they did, she had an album in 2010 when they were like on the Hills that flopped, incredibly flopped. And he went on TikTok and talked about his wife's music and to support them because like they lost their home. Like a lot of
Hmm.
people have been streaming her album and buying her music, and it's been number one on iTunes for the last week and a half. So I mean, I think
Fantastic what the internet can do.
so there is a positive thing, and I know that's like a really light example, but that's just like a positive thing that can come of like people actually being like, okay, like having some empathy for someone and then being like, okay, let me help you in this way. So now think about that in a larger scale of like the Academy Awards. They have that, have an element where you can support the people who have like lost their homes, because it's going to take years to rebuild out there, and it's going to cost a lot of money. I mean, it's
The
going to be in the
scale of
billions
the
apparently.
destruction is insane.
Like, to give you guys the Pacific Palisades, where the biggest fire was, they believe that about 70% of that city is just gone, and that is crazy. I mean, my friend's childhood home was there, that burned down. There's a lot of there's a road like going towards like through Malibu, where like a lot of people will just drive along the coast to just clear their heads. All that kind of beachfront property is gone. Like, it's just
That's
gone.
insane.
So like, I get the whole like, let's not celebrate something vapid and superficial, but like, don't look at it that way. Look at how you can use it to your advantage. And I totally get postponing nominations, and like they postponed the WGA and PGA. They were supposed to get announced last week. They put that to this week. The Critics' Choice Awards are pushed all the way to February. I get postponing them. I just don't think canceling any of it is beneficial when it can
I
probably give
agree.
a lot of
It would be a missed opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think so as well. But the SAG nominations, I do agree with how they handled this too. They just did it as a press release. They didn't have a live thing for the nominations. A lot of the names that you've been hearing are kind of a little bit. There's some different ones, but like for the most part, a lot of the same movies. And people are kind of being mentioned. Best Actor, you got Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig for Queer, which is out on video on demand now. So if anyone wants to check that out, I heard it's really good. I haven't watched it yet. Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, and Ray Fiennes for Conclave. Best Actress, I guess, surprisingly, which is why I'm. You know what? I haven't watched The Last Showgirl yet. I think it's just for the story for Pamela Anderson, based on like who she was back in the day, like Baywatch. Like, just she was known more for her looks and her body back then.
Right.
And
Her discovery story is quite something.
Yeah, and apparently this movie changes all that for her. She got a SAG nomination for
Good
The
for
Last
her.
Showgirl, which I mean, she could. There's an open slot for that fifth spot in actress, and Angelina Jolie has lost steam there for Maria. I haven't watched that either, but she wasn't on the BAFTA short list, like, so she might be out. So that fifth slot for women is open, and Pamela Anderson could maybe get that come Oscar night. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, which is still polarizing.
Man,
it gets more polarizing by the day.
Yeah, it led. I think it was one of the leaders of the BAFTAs. Nominations too. I don't understand because nobody seems to actually like it, but it's getting so much awards attention.
And someone made a good point to me. They were like, "Dude, that movie won best musical or comedy at the Golden Globes, and if you go, I think the day or two after that on Netflix, it wasn't in their top 10 at all. So no one's rushing to watch it on Netflix. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not, because I haven't watched it yet. I'm not saying that it's not good, because it could. I could very well watch it tonight and be like, oh, it's different, but it's good. But there is a visceral like hate for that movie.
Yeah. I've never seen something like this in the few years I've been paying attention to the awards race. This is an anomaly for sure.
Yeah, if it wins like Best Picture down the road at the Oscars, like it can replace Crash as like what people consider like the worst. And I love Crash. I don't agree with that notion at all, but a lot of people think it's the worst Best Picture winner.
I still haven't seen Crash, but I know of its legacy as one of those.
I believe. Does that have an anniversary this year? I think it does.
I want to say it was 2004.
Oh, it might have been. Yeah.
Maybe the awards ceremony was 2005.
Oh, right.
2004. Yeah.
Oh, and then Mikey Madison for Nora and Demi
Moore
for The Substance. So the only reason I know that you watched it because like I get because the way I sent it to you, I guess. I get an alert when you
get notified. Oh, interesting.
I get an alert that you have downloaded or watched it, and I was like, oh, we watched it, and I didn't even think to like ask because I was out with friends. I didn't even think to ask you like what you thought of it, but I think it's a toss up between her and Demi Moore at this point.
I think that's where the real race lies, is between them, and honestly, like I'm happy for both of them. I don't know at this point.
Honestly, but Mikey Madison is a firecracker in that movie. Holds her own completely. So that's the best actress race. Best supporting actor, Jonathan Bailey got one for Wicked. He's really good in it. Don't know if that means he's going to get an Oscar nomination, but Yura Borisov of Menorah, he gave a really quiet, understated performance in that, and I'm glad people are acknowledging it because those performances deserve acknowledgement too. Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. He's been the front runner for a while. Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice, another movie I haven't watched yet either.
Jeremy Strong, so consistent.
Yeah. Best Supporting Actress, Monica Barbera for A Complete Unknown, Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl, Danielle Detweiler for The Piano Lesson, and Ariana Grande for Wicked. And Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. She won the Golden Globe. She's considered kind of the front runner, but Ariana Grande is like right behind her. And then Best Ensemble Cast: Complete Unknown, Honora, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. And that was funny that you were like didn't know how like they didn't really do like Best Picture and stuff in the SAG Awards. It's just they do the equivalent of Best Ensemble. If someone wins Best Ensemble, that's not like the equivalent of wearing. That doesn't really tell you who's going to win Best Picture at the Oscars.
No.
Yeah, different, but
it's more of a cast award. I see that they have a stunt ensemble,
which is cool.
Award too. Is that new or is that?
I think that's been there. And I think it's crazy that we don't have an official category for that at the Oscars yet. They petitioned for one and they just haven't added one yet. They should.
I'm sure that's imminent. It's got to be. There's been so much hype, especially on the internet, around adding that category at the Oscars, and I know Oscars members see this, so I'm sure that we will see that. If I were to put money on it, I'd say by the end of the 2020s, that category will be added. But I also don't know I don't even know the last time an awards category was added at the Oscars. I know some have been added along the way among the years, but I'm not sure how long since they've updated it. But it's due because it needs to be recognized.
I think they have one now for. I don't know if they added it yet, or they talked about adding it for this year. I know casting was one that they were talking about adding, like for casting.
Oh yeah, no, they did. I think they did add that.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
That's important too. But I also think the stunt one should have been added a long time ago.
True, let's so overdue that.
Before you know it, there's gonna be like best horror movie. Every genre is gonna have one probably, which probably will like.
It's pretty cool. I don't know that. Yeah,
that probably might cheapen it a little bit.
It would, but then you'd also get like movies that would never get recognized otherwise getting some Oscars recognition. But I think there is something to be said about the exclusivity of the Oscar. Like it's coveted. It's for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Just in the interest of time, now that we get the SAG out of the way, I just wanted to move on to something that we have not really. No, I don't think we did. We talked about this offline.
No, offline
into another episode.
We want to give it time.
Yeah, exactly. Due time. Something of this scale that obviously we were gonna cover. It needs a good chunk of time dedicated to it. But I'm sure by now it's no secret. Maybe not everybody doesn't follow news as religiously as the two of us, perhaps. But if you haven't heard, little known filmmaker Christopher Nolan's next movie, fresh off his Oscar win for Oppenheimer in 2023, is underway, and he is adapting Homer's The Odyssey, which I remember seeing the news. I was at the gym when I was kind of just scrolling through my phone and saw that news broke. And I don't know why it had never occurred to me him to tackle something like this. And I just instantly thought my first reaction was, what a match made in heaven to him to do like a sword and sandals type movie. Oh, I don't know why that never crossed my mind, but I love that.
IMAX cameras. And apparently he's using state-of-the-art like IMAX cameras to do this. Like it's also allegedly his most expensive movie ever made. They're saying like $200 to $250 million, which is not
even a concern.
Which is not even him at all, really. He usually kind of keeps his budgets tight. But I think at this point, this is his second movie with Universal, so they were like, "Hey, we'll just give you what you want, and we will probably get our return on our investment." So have at it. Were you surprised that this was the direction that? Because I think no one we all had speculation, it was all rumors about he's doing there's a horror movie idea that they thought that he was going to do. I forgot what the other ones were, but they were all different, and I wasn't expecting this at all.
I wasn't. That's why it caught me off guard. And when I first saw that he was doing The Odyssey, I thought, oh my God, why had this never crossed my mind? Maybe it's because I was victim to internet rumors about what his next project would be. And I got kind of sucked into those wormholes about what he might have done next. I know that he was rumored to do a Bond movie post Tenet in 2020. And so I wouldn't have been surprised to see that might have been a direction that he had in, or maybe some sort of another espionage type movie. And then you were right. Like, I think this might have been just while Nosferatu was like before that was coming out, because that was hot. That
Yeah,
kind of fed rumors that he was gonna do a gothic
like
kind
horror
of
movie.
horror movie or vampire movie. There was kind of some rumors floating around that. So that's kind of the update I was expecting to hear in the coming months or weeks. And then it was
Yeah,
this, and I thought I like this so much more. I love that he's doing something like this. And then the cast that he's assembled so far, at least on IMDb, we've got seven in a total cast at this point, which
yeah.
some of
I
his
think they mentioned
regulars,
on
some
one
people he's
episode
collaborated.
briefly.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had like
I believe
Matt
so
Damon,
too.
Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Robert Pattinson, Charlize Theron.
Yeah,
Um,
was that a new one? I don't remember Charlize
Charlize Theron
Theron.
was the last one, and I think that kind of happened
Okay,
over the holiday, and that's why
maybe
I
I just
didn't
forgot
really
about that.
notice it. Um, and now I'm just like, who is like each person playing? Like, can you even like speculate who they all might play? I remember when we talked about the cast. So we talked about the cast briefly at the end of an episode. You
Oh,
were
okay, we
concerned.
must have.
You were concerned with the like younger people that were cast. You were like, oh, like Tom Holland and Zendaya, and you're like, what kind of movies he trying to make? Because like he usually doesn't go that like his cast so far has never really been that. Well, I guess Florence Pugh is like in that age range too, like because
Yeah, I
he
guess, but
cast
that she's the
And
exception,
Oppenheimer,
not
but it
the
was like
rule. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. So I know you were concerned about that initially, but
That's
like
true, and
knowing what
that's
he's
still
doing
there. But
now.
yeah.
Oh, it's still there. Okay. Okay.
Well, no, it's I not that I obviously have faith in him, and he's surprised me before with what he got out of Harry Styles for Dunkirk, and that's not to say that these are going to be massive roles or that I didn't know. Maybe to me at least, when it's particularly with Zendaya and Tom Holland being cast like around the same time. To me, I took it as like this, and I don't imagine that he would go this route, but like it almost felt like, is he going for some sort of meta approach to their
Oh,
casting where he knows that they're engaged? I think post them being
yeah.
cast, but like, are they supposed to be playing characters that are? Is he drawing on their real life relationship
Oh, making
to
them like a
play in it?
couple. Yeah.
Like, and if he does, that's not to say that it won't go well. I trust him, but like, I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me in a weird way, and I think I would be fine with. I'm actually more excited to see what Zendaya, like that collaboration, than I am with Tom Holland. I think it's because like secretly I'm just not a big Tom Holland guy, but
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
know
I'm not really. Yeah, I don't
that.
know. We've never chatted about that.
Is
I
it
just
because
don't.
is it because he only like I feel bad for him because he's a great Spider-Man. I think he actually is the
Sure,
best age
absolutely,
appropriate one. So like Andrew Garfield's like my favorite one, like personally, but I think you
really.
know, yeah, I know that's like I guess that's a hot take, but like but I think Tom Holland is the most age appropriate. Like that's why it's worked the most. Like they actually got him at the right age to do it.
I
I
agree.
feel bad that his stuff outside of that hasn't really hit with a lot of people. Like Cherry got bad reviews, but I thought he was good in that.
Yeah,
I thought he was pretty good in it, and I mean, I can't really base like Uncharted made money, but like that's he was just placing he was playing a variation of Peter Parker in that, so like it wasn't really
okay,
hard for him to do. I mean, and then I watched some of the Crowded Room, and he was good in that, but the show itself wasn't that good. So like
okay,
I think he's had bad luck with like projects that just weren't well written outside of the Marvel stuff. But it seems like the things that he's choosing now might change that. Like doing the Nolan movie, he has a movie that he's going to do with Austin Butler that sounds pretty interesting as
oh,
well. So
okay,
like
neat. I
so
don't know if
like,
I knew
but
that.
I do think that's interesting though because like I have a few friends that think like you that they are like they're not sold on him. I have one buddy that was like I feel like he stole the career that Taron Egerton was supposed to have, and I was like, oh, that's funny.
Huh.
I was like,
Okay, interesting.
I can see that. But yeah, I mean,
I
I think
think
he's
he's a
talented though.
director's actor, and he needs like to be.
Direction, like
He
really
needs
good. Like
direction. I saw the only non-Marvel project I think that I've seen of Tom Holland that I could think. Actually, no, I
oh
keep forgetting he's in The Impossible from like 2012. But
yeah, and I forget about the
I'm
devil all the time. Yeah, he's also in with
that's
Robert
the one I
Pattinson.
was gonna
Yeah.
say, that's the only like recent like post MCU movie that I've seen him as, and like as a whole, I wasn't really into that movie. I didn't care for it, and then he just didn't do anything for me. He didn't wow me. I didn't really care. But I think I just had some apathy to that movie that I'm kind of like bringing to him, because I like
Yeah.
him as much as the next guy, as his Peter Parker Spider-Man role is
Yeah.
great. He is like the highlight of those movies that he's in. But yeah, so I guess sort of a tangent, but I'm just curious to see what Nolan will do. But as I just mentioned, I think he's the director's actor. I think Nolan will bring out the best of anybody, and
Yeah.
I should have faith in him. But that casting of them together just kind of made me feel some type of way. But
No, I get it, and it was announced pretty close together. Like
for
it was
sure.
very much like, but I do think it's interesting because since they're a couple, I would think they would maybe have conversations about career and like what, or maybe they don't really talk about that. I think she's done a much better job, and it seems like he might be doing that now. I think she's done a better job like with her projects. Like I feel like she wants to work with directors first, and she doesn't just
Mhm.
pick random movies and projects to be in. Like she when she before she did Challengers, she talked to Timothy Chalamet about working with Luca because he had worked with him already, I think twice. So she was like, "Hey, would he be a good person to work with?" And then and he was like, "Yeah, you should totally do it. It'll change your life." And it did. Like, that's
Mhm.
Challengers is probably the most adult thing that she's done,
Mhm.
so far. But I think I think everything that she's done now, she's very director focused and not just like
Yeah,
movie focused. And I think for him, for a while, he was very movie project focused rather than being director focused. And hopefully that changes. Like, I think Nolan's a good person for him to work with. I think that it'll be good
100%.
for his career. I actually didn't know you felt that way about him, but you're not alone in that. Like, it's not that people think he's bad. It's just like they're just not completely sold
Mhm.
because I think they only really see him in Marvel stuff. Like some of my friends could even name anything he had done outside of that.
Yeah, I
They're
think
like,
that's
yeah, they're like,
more a result of like the movies that he's in, like their performance more than him. But
yeah,
he just hasn't had like his career hasn't panned out post Marvel that like the way I think that it was shaping up to look like with that insane hype that he had as
yeah,
Spider-Man. And then he was taking a break from acting. I know that he was going through some stuff after. Was it after
yeah.
that show? What did you say
Yeah,
it was
and then
called?
the crowded room.
The
He
Crowded
stopped
Room,
drinking. He stopped
right?
drinking now. Like, he actually launched a whole non-alcoholic beer now, which you can actually get in Target. I actually saw it in
Oh,
Target the other day.
cool.
I don't really want non-alcoholic beer, but I'm sure
Not for
I'm
me either.
sure
Good for
not
him.
for me. Good for him. I also love that Nolan is like a repeat offender though. Like when you like working with the same people, because clearly he builds a rapport with certain people, and like Anne
Yeah,
Hathaway has said on countless occasions that he saved her career because when he gave her Interstellar, she won her Oscar, but she kind of was like, I still don't remember the reason why the world decided to hate her for like a hot minute, but they
I
didn't
didn't
like
know
her.
that she was that unpopular. She
She
worked for
had the
Les
same,
Mis, right?
yeah, Les Mis, and she had the same issue that Jennifer Lawrence started to have, where it's kind of like, oh, her again. Like, I think it was
Okay.
maybe an
Sometimes too
over,
much of a good thing is,
yeah.
yeah,
Um,
oversaturation.
she said like, he cast her, she had already worked with him. They already did the Dark Knight Rises, but like it was just like, the second time was like crucial because like no one really wanted to cast her at that point because they were like, oh, we don't know about your likability right now, and he was like, screw that, and he just cast her, and she credits him with saving her career. So this will be the third
I
time
did
they
not
work
know
together,
about
right?
that dynamic. Yeah, that's great.
And then Matt Damon, this will be the third time too because he was in Interstellar as well and
Right?
Oppenheimer. I believe this is the first for Charlize Theron and Lupita Nyong'o.
I believe so. Yep.
Unless I'm missing some cameo or something. And then Robert Pattinson, this will be the
Yeah.
second
Second.
second time. So
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. Like, everyone that works with him said like I thought it was interesting with like the whole press for Oppenheimer. Robert Downey Jr. and everyone was like, hey, like when you work on a Nolan movie, even though it's like a big movie, there are no like frills that come along with that. You're not staying in luxury hotels, blah blah blah. Like you're
Mm,
staying like in the city you're working in, like in a really rinky-dink hotel, because he's not about like trying to accommodate you and making you feel better as far as like outside the work. You're there for the work, and everyone that works with him respects that he's not really playing to like a celebrity's ego when he works with them, and I think
that's
that benefit.
awesome.
I think that actually benefits everyone that happens to work with him because
You're
I
gonna
think it's a whole
attract a
like check your
certain
ego
type
at the
of
door.
talent when you work that way, and that is great. No prima donnas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you can tell certain actors really respect working with him because I think certain actors would be like, no, because they still care about their accommodations and being treated like celebrities, and others clearly care about the work more. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that he is that kind of director though, that all he's like, all my passion and all my time is going into making this thing great. Everything else is, yeah, you just got to deal with the
Mm.
whatever you get thrown at you in that respect. So I'm excited for it. I there are a lot of directors that they would throw $250 million at. So
That's
good
right.
on him. Good on
And that
him.
is expected July 17th of next year, 2026, which I
Yeah.
think has been the usual release time for his movies. He's a summer blockbuster guy, so
It's the
I
sweet spot.
usually would be critical of like um locking down a release date in advance, but like he's proven that he's an
He's kind of
effective
known for that
director,
though.
and that's a long ways away enough that I wouldn't feel like the project would be rushed. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. But yeah, that $250 million budget, I'm interested to see that. I'm sure. Now, this is just the last little point I wanted to make before we move on. Now, it's no
Yeah.
secret that Nolan is known and applauded for being like the steward of practical effects and limited
Yeah.
CGI. How is he going to? What do you think he's like? What's he going to be the approach for like
Uh,
some of the mythical aspects of this
that's.
movie?
I think that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be hard, right? Because like
He's not
there's
really had a movie where he's used puppets or animatronics.
comics or
I
anything,
can't think
anything
of
like that.
nothing like
If he
that.
could
So
figure out a way to do this mostly practically, then I already respect him enough. I would.
yeah,
I
I
think I
love
would like
that.
bow. I think I would bow down at his feet if I ever met him at that point.
100%. Yeah.
Uh, but but with a budget like that, I guess it might be going more to like set design and stuff, like trying to make that look as good as it can
Yeah.
look. So there might be a lot where most of that money is going to. I've never really read up on if he is against using like special effects, like a lot of them if necessary. But I know that he is
We
more
just haven't seen
keen
that,
on
I guess.
seeing that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I know he's more keen on being practical. So we'll see. But like, if he can make that story work, the way he usually makes his movies, and I will be thoroughly impressed. And also, I mean, the box office potential is so insane because he already can sell a movie on his own, like
Yeah.
his name alone. But now you got this cast that feels like every quadrant, every demographic is like, yeah, they are eating well with that
Yeah.
cast there, right? So like the box office potential for that is so crazy. And if it's good, then yeah, it's gonna be crazy because before we know it, it will be that time next year, and we'll like
Exactly.
that's
It
what's
will
interesting
come
about
like that.
doing a show like this. Well, when we talk about movies that are in development and then suddenly we're talking about them coming out like next week, it's so weird to me how fast that
I
time
know.
goes.
I know. And
Like
I
yeah,
can't
like
wait. And I love it.
yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
So that'll be something that we are definitely talking about over the next year and a half or
Year,
so
yeah,
as that plot thickens and whatnot.
yeah.
Very excited for
Uh
that.
yeah, and speaking of thickening plots, this is one
Yes.
that is this is one that's been going on for God, since the summer, I guess, since August, since it ends with us opened in August. We talked about it briefly, right? We didn't even like have a whole news story about it. I think we just kind of mentioned that
I know we
there
talked
seemed
about it, but to what end, I don't exactly recall. But
right.
I know there's been a lot of developments, and this is something that I am hearing more or less for the first time from you. So,
Yeah. I'm gonna try to go through the first part quickly. So Blake Lively is in a little movie called It Ends With Us. It's weird I say little movie. It made $350 million worldwide and a $25 million budget. So
mm,
it turned into a very huge movie because it's based on a very popular book with women. They love the book. Um, I've never read it, so I can't vouch for that. But um, it's like one of those things. Hey, did you freeze? Oh no, you're back. Okay.
yep,
Uh,
there you go.
so yeah, so it's very popular in that regard. Um, a lot of people on the internet, I think they noticed it first. Like during the promotion of it, its star Blake Lively and her co-star and director Justin Baldoni were not doing press together, and that was weird because he was the male lead, and there's two male leads, but like he is one of the main male leads, and they were like, "That's so weird. Why aren't they doing interviews together?" And then they were like, "Well, there must be an issue. There must be a feud," and right, so that kind of got started on the internet, and then when the premiere happened and they weren't photographed together, he came separately. She came with her crew and the rest of the cast. They all unfollowed him on social media. It was this whole like childish thing. Yeah. That's how you determine if you like someone now. It's like, oh, I unfollowed you on Instagram, that we're not friends
Yeah,
anymore.
so
So
silly.
I think at the time, the internet really made her look bad because on the one hand, she was promoting a movie which basically has huge themes about domestic violence in it, but she was promoting it as a more superficial, like take your girlfriends to the movies and enjoy yourself
Right.
kind of
Very
film.
happy-go-lucky. Yes, I know. I know. It
Now,
looks. I saw those snippets of her advertising the movie, and it did come across weird. But anyway,
yeah. Now, some girls did go with all their girlfriends and saw it like that. So
Well, yeah,
maybe there was
Colleen Hoover
something.
books were super popular. I don't blame
Yeah.
girlfriends for going to see the movie together. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Justin Baldoni, when he was promoting it, then when he's doing interviews by himself, he's talking about like all the important things about the movie, like about the domestic violence, and he also purports to be like a feminist and like real an ally to you know women's needs and yeah, all the things that you would want to say when you're directing a movie like that.
Yep.
Um, he said all the right things at the time. And I think even you said that when she was promoting it and how it made her look, that she looked pretty bad. And then all of a sudden there was all these
Just looked
interviews
out of
popping up.
touch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden there's these old interviews from her at press junkets where it's like she was kind of rude
Yep. That
and
did
that
not
also
help her
made her
case.
look did not help her case at all. But then, like I think it was a few weeks ago, she filed like what they call it, like a civil action against Baldoni. So it wasn't like a lawsuit yet, but it basically was this thing that detailed all of the things that she allegedly went through while filming the movie, and it basically is the equivalent of filing a lawsuit. So I'll even like skip the part like she filed that, and then she eventually filed a official like sexual harassment lawsuit against him. And some of the things that she said that
Right.
he did on set was she accused him of fat shame. She had just had her kid before she started filming, and so she probably didn't feel great about her weight. Um,
Right.
she made it seem as if he had issues with her weight because in her civil action, it basically says that who he hired was the Blake Lively that we kind of know from like Gossip Girl and The Town.
Hmm.
She's beautiful, all that. He was concerned that she didn't look her best and voiced that to her allegedly while they were filming. And I guess there was also a scene where he had to like lift her, like in some kind of dance thing that they were doing in the movie. He said that he had back problems, which is why he, I guess, asked her trainer how much she weighed. Um, and I can see how that can go horribly wrong.
Yep.
Because it weight is a very sensitive issue, especially to a woman who just gave birth to a child. So that would be a really awkward thing to bring up. She also claims that he insisted on having like a meeting with her while she was in her dressing room, even though she said she was changing. And then another producer also on the film that's also named in her lawsuit tried to do the same thing. She said, "Can it wait? I'm changing." He insisted that it couldn't wait. So they had this conversation where she forced him not to turn around because she was undressed. And she didn't understand why that couldn't wait. He also apparently talked about his porn addiction while they were making the movie. I
Oh
guess
boy.
to I guess in a way to like talk about the characters and all that. She said that he added tried to add unnecessary sex scenes for their characters in the film.
That was something I
Uh,
heard in the lawsuit, and like unscripted kisses and stuff like that.
Unscripted
Yep.
kisses and all that stuff
Yep.
too. And I guess another producer who works with his Wayfarer Studios produced the movie too, and she's also produced on the film, by the way. Um, one of those producers tried to show her a video of his wife giving birth to their kid, and she's like, "I don't want to see that." Now, some people will
What
say that, "Well,
the fuck?
that's a beautiful thing, right?" But if you worked at a company that had an HR department, you could easily go to them and be like, "Yo, this person's showing me a video of their wife, giving birth. This makes me feel uncomfortable," and that you
Yeah.
would have a like legitimate case there. Like, I don't want to
100%.
see that.
That is just
So,
strange.
so there was a lot of this stuff that another main thing before I go into like some other things that happened on top of this like sexual harassment stuff. There's also apparently a smear campaign that him and his publicist PR team were trying to come up with because they were worried that she was going to publicly air out these grievances that they had on set when the movie came out. And I guess in order to prevent her from doing that, they wanted to sully her character before that could happen. And they did that. And to Blake Lively's credit, she managed to get text messages and emails where they gloat about how they were going to destroy her name. And it really makes him look really, really bad. And
Okay.
now if you go back and look at how she was depicted online when the movie was being promoted, it really does look like a lot of that stuff was kind of planted, thrown in there to make her look pretty vapid and evil. while
Right.
they come out, while he's going around like, getting awards for like, being an ally to women in domestic abuse. Award that was stripped for him, by the way. They took that away from him when all this came out. He got dropped from his
Wow.
agency, from his WME. They share the same agency, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. He is saying that they persuaded them to do that. That agency came out and said, no one persuades us to do that. Like, basically, we dropped you because we wanted to. And, that's how that goes.
Interesting.
So she has a lot of receipts that make it seem like, this was a really calculated effort to like, hey, if she decides she wants to say something, this is what we're going to do to her. And I think because of how they felt they were treated during the promotion of the movie, they said they were segregated from her in the cast. But if I felt that you sexually harassed me on set, I wouldn't want to be around you either at the premiere either. I would be like, yo, keep him away from me. I can't make you
100%.
not go. But like, and actually, I guess, according to him, he tried to make it. I guess according to his new lawsuit today, because he actually sued her today for defamation and extortion, because he's saying that they tried to steal the movie away from him. And what I think is interesting is that his lawsuits, because he actually sued the New York Times too, because they were the one that ran the big piece
Right.
on this. It's interesting that he briefly touches on the sexual harassment stuff, but his main concern in his lawsuit is her and Ryan Reynolds allegedly stealing his movie and then making him look bad. Like that character of Nice Pool in Deadpool.
Yeah. I know
He
that
believes that character was created to mock him. I don't understand why his main attention isn't on the more like serious allegations of sexual harassment and
right.
talking about your sex life with your wife and talking about your porn addiction to an actress who clearly didn't want to have those conversations with you. Like his feels very self-serving and very like now superficial. Like people were talking about how superficial she was when she promoted the movie. His lawsuits against her now sounds like a little kid who's like mad he didn't get his way. He's like, I had to like watch the movie separately in a separate theater. Like, well, yeah, if you did those things that like she's alleging that you did, then you would be separated. I mean, that's just how it is. He claims that like Ryan Reynolds got involved and he shouldn't have gotten involved, but that's her
Right.
husband.
Yep.
A husband
The
that works in the
producer
same
on the
movie.
movie. I think. Yeah.
No, well,
Exactly.
no, I mean, he's a person not on the film, but he knows how to be. He has been a producer in film. He's an
Right.
actor, just like her. Also, it's her husband. So, like, if she goes to him and says, like, "This is what's happening," I feel like I need help. What is he gonna do? I mean, he's not gonna like just stand back unless she wants him to. But she probably did ask for his advice and his help, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Not at
And
all.
I guess what makes this even more interesting is that all of these grievances that she had against him were addressed while they were filming the movie. This wasn't like her lawsuit, that all this stuff in her lawsuit didn't come out of nowhere. They had a meeting while filming, and it was like, this is what you can't do around me anymore. This is what you can't talk about anymore. This makes me uncomfortable. I guess he thought it ended there.
I
And
see.
and then I guess once she found out about once she got those texts from and how she got those texts is from a PR firm that was once working for him, and she didn't like how things were being handled by some of the people that were on his team, so she quit, and she gave those text messages and emails to Blake Lively because she was like, I'm reading these texts and I'm seeing emails, and this looks like a calculated smear campaign against you, and I think you should know about it. So
Good
I know
move.
that was a lot. I threw a lot at you,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what's happening now. Like, so she has a lawsuit against him. He filed a $400 million lawsuit against her and Ryan Reynolds. He also has a $450 million lawsuit against the New York Times. The PR firm that once worked for him is suing him for defamation. So there's a lot going on. I guess to say in the nutshell that people are more on her side than they were before. And she has a lot of people on her side. I think what's most important is that she has Sony on her side who made the movie. They are backing her 100%. The cast of the
Okay.
film,
That's an important
yeah,
distinction for
the
sure.
cast of the film is backing her 100%. Now, there are cynical people that are like, well, they're backing her because she's the more powerful of the two. I don't think Jenny Slate really needs to back her up just because. I think if she was like, maybe she saw something that she didn't like either. Maybe the whole cast did. I feel like and at the end of this, maybe everyone's career is going to be a little like dinged from it because it is a
Yeah,
because like
nobody really
no one's going to come.
wins.
Yeah, Justin Baldoni wants a jury trial too. I don't know if that's going to happen because if there's a jury
Okay.
trial, then all this stuff gets aired out, right? Um, but I think at the end of the day, Blake Lively will be fine. Ryan Reynolds will be fine. I don't think Justin Baldoni will be. I there is something about him. The more I learn about him, the more it's just like he, like one of the girls on the web on our website said, like he's like a faux feminist. He pretends like he is because he thinks it looks
Oh,
good. Because he thinks it looks
right.
good, but he isn't. Like he says like all the right buzzwords and like but he is not really an ally. He thinks it looks good that he comes off as one, but he's not really
Right.
one. And like I said, it's like his lawsuit. Like everyone online was like, dude, okay, why would you admit that you think that character is based off you? Because that makes you look really fucking bad in that movie. If you really think that is the case, and that'd be really hard to. Now you're pulling like Bob Iger into it and Kevin Feige that work in Marvel. He wants
Oh man.
his lawyer wants him to hold on to like any information or notes. Like if Ryan Reynolds wrote any notes that suggested that character is based on him, like he wants those handed over to his lawyer. He also brought up Taylor Swift in his new lawsuit because he said that a really famous friend of theirs, he was invited to their house and shown pages that Blake Lively had rewritten of the movie. And I guess Ryan Reynolds in front of him praised his wife for rewriting those scenes. And a really famous person who is famous around the world who has a song in the film was also there and
Oh,
praised her for those changes. So like he brought her into it for unnecessary reasons. And then the worst thing he did, he said that uh, they were served their papers when they were trying to evacuate from their homes during the LA fires. That's not on Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds. Like a process server, that's up to them when they want to do it. But I also thought it was in poor taste to use that in like your lawsuit. It almost felt like he was trying to garner some kind of sympathy because the way it was written, it was like, oh, we're like trying to figure out where we're going, and like, we don't know if we're gonna have our home, and like, while she is like in the safety of her penthouse in New York, we're getting served papers about this
okay.
case while we're dealing with all these fires. It was just like it all. He just comes off really wrong in this. I know everyone's gonna have an opinion on it.
For
Um,
sure. I'm trying to keep it all under wrap, like my opinions under wraps until stuff starts coming out because it's definitely going to be it seems like it's going to be the year's juicy courtroom drama, and I'm
yeah,
excited to see like who's left standing when it's all said and done. I don't really know who to believe because I'm not going to lie. Like during the original promotion of the movie, I fell into that Blake Lively, like these old videos coming up of her treating that reporter very poorly, and all the rumors of like her old Gossip Girl co-stars and her not getting along, not following each other, and her being apparently like a real life mean girl. I really bought into that stuff, and I was like, huh, maybe Blake Lively isn't this like
yeah,
wonderful person that she, because her persona very much is like that. And I kind of, not to say that I just blatantly believed everything that Baldoni was claiming, but things have definitely changed without a doubt. And at this point, I'm sort of like, I'm admitting that I obviously know nothing. I'm just really interested that I'd love to be a fly on the wall. And
yeah,
as more stuff comes to light, um, they're both in deep. We'll put it that way. Like you said, like it's the ugly stuff's going to come out, and I think Blake Lively ultimately will be fine. And if like obviously, and Ryan Reynolds, I'm sure isn't really nothing. His brand isn't going to be damaged by some
yeah,
petty courtroom like rivalry. But Justin Baldoni's a much smaller fish,
yeah.
and it regardless, I don't think like this is one of those like bad publicity. Like I don't think this is going to help him regardless of where he ends up in all this. Like this is just not. It's not going to buy him any goodwill with the industry. So
Yeah. I like my friend said. My friend was like, "Who even is Justin Baldoni?" I was like, "Oh, that's." I was like, "He's on Jane the Virgin," and they were like, okay."
okay.
And then they
Didn't
kind of
know
got
his
into
name
it.
other than being
Yeah,
associated with this movie. So
yeah. So like he's ill, and like Mark release date rewind. He actually mentioned the Gossip Girl thing to me when this was all going down the first time. I heard that they don't follow each other, that they don't really talk anymore. But I mean, when they were on a TV show back in 2007, 2008 that ran for 6 years, and nothing says that they have to really talk or get along anymore. It was a job that they all had, and they were young when they had it. And
this is true.
I think people that watch TV shows want the cast all the like, they had to be like best friends outside of work, and that's just not the case sometimes. So I mean, I understand using that as a example, but also I mean, it happens. Like for a lot of actors, a job's a job and they move on. And like I mean, and she didn't really love
100%.
being on that show. I mean, like she acknowledges what the show did for her career, but like she played a really unlikable character on that show. So I don't think she necessarily loved her experience, but them not being friends and some of them being friends and them not being friends with her. I mean, like it just like life happened, and she definitely started living a different life. She became more high profile. I mean, after that. But yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. It's really a lot of connecting dots and parts, and a little confusing. I wish you could watch Jackson's face as I was saying all of it, because he was kind of like trying to keep up. It was just a lot.
There is a lot going on with all that. It feels like it's going to be not quite the Depp Heard trial, but like going to be like that this year's version of that whenever this comes to play. I don't know if something like this gets televised or if it'll be behind closed doors, but ultimately we'll find out what's what eventually.
We'll keep you updated on it.
Yeah.
At the moment, updates, I'm Team Lively. I'm Team Lively right now, like slightly.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm middle ground. I honestly I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just at this point, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Speaking of updates, though, Scream 7 has a few different updates, and I'm just realizing right now how put together this movie's cast is. I know that we touched on this a lot in 2024, and that movie has seen a lot of changes, especially with like Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega not coming back, and the director stepping away. So Kevin Williamson, who was like piloted the Scream franchise, is back in the director's chair. What was the last one he directed? Was it Scream 2?
No, he actually hasn't. The only movie he's directed is Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Oh, he didn't direct any of them. He wrote,
which is not promising. But I mean, this might be better though, because Teaching Mrs. Tingle is not good.
That's right.
But he wrote Scream 1 and Scream 2. Didn't write Scream 3. He wrote Scream 4.
Apparently, he really hates Scream 3. I've heard this.
Yeah. I mean, he actually was pretty honest about that in 2022. He didn't write it. He thought it was too campy and like pretty funny. He said it had good moments, but it wasn't how he wanted to do it. But now he gets his chance. I guess with the cast, what we can say, we'll start with the ones today. Joel McHale got added to the cast. He's playing Sydney's husband. Everyone thought that was going to be Patrick Dempsey's role, because he played a character named Mark Kincaid in Scream 3. He was a detective in the movie that it's insinuated they ended up together by the end of that film. And in Scream 5, they mentioned that she is married to someone named Mark and she has kids. I think when the radio silence people conceived 5 and 6, the Mark they were talking about was Mark from Scream 3. It was Patrick Dempsey. I think talks kind of fell apart with him. Patrick Dempsey is known for being like a highballer when it comes to negotiations, and they probably were like,
"Oh, no. Okay,
yeah." And because he's working on another Spyglass movie, he's doing Thanksgiving too. So like it should have been easy to like make that happen, but it just didn't. But Joel McHale is playing Mark Evans, so like she's still married to a Mark, just not Mark Kincaid. This casting is interesting. Joel McHale actually can be a serious actor. He's done some stuff on The Bear, which people will try to convince you is a comedy. It's not.
Interesting. I did not know he was in that.
He's has some guest stuff on there, but he's mostly known for being funny. But I think it's a good casting choice. I mean, I love Community, and
I like Joel McHale. Yeah, Community. He's great in that. I haven't seen that in forever.
There are some people that are really upset about the whole Patrick Dempsey thing, and I was like, well, you got through Scream 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 without him, so you can get through this one without him too.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
But then you got like the Meeks Martin siblings are coming back, and I'm curious what they're gonna do, because without their counterparts and Melissa Barrera,
two-member and Jenna Ortega, 2 members of the core 4, so Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding are coming back. Fans of Melissa Barrera have already turned on Mason Gooding, so they're probably going to turn on her today too, because they think it's in poor taste. They wanted them to like stand in like solidarity with Melissa Barrera, because of how she got fired.
Also,
that's not how that works.
A job, yeah,
paycheck's a paycheck.
You sacrifice your livelihood over a co-star that you probably.
And who knows? Maybe she had a conversation with both of them, and they were like, maybe they talked to her, and they're like, she was like, go ahead and do it. We have no idea. So it's cool
At
that they're
this,
coming back. It'll be interesting how they integrate them into the story. I'm glad that what I'm glad about their inclusion is that they're not retconning 5 and 6. At least they're keeping it in
yeah,
the
that's neat.
timeline.
It's definitely not
Um,
an easy story to pilot at this point. Like with all that behind the scenes stuff.
yeah,
Like good for Kevin Williams for stepping in and taking the helm because I know this is a movie a lot of people such as yourself like were clamoring for after 6, and
yeah,
things were looking pretty dire. This movie was on life support after all that stuff happened, and Melissa Barrera was fired, and then Jenna Ortega, who was the hottest thing in Hollywood at the time,
yeah.
said that she wasn't coming back. It really didn't look like this movie was going to go forward, and so now it's built up quite a good cast,
No,
and it's got
you
a
got
story, and
moving.
it's
Yeah,
happening.
full steam ahead. And you got Anna
Yeah,
Camp. Don't know who Anna Camp's playing, but like she's in. You might know her from like the Pitch Perfect movies. She's in those.
definitely don't
McKenna
know her from those. I recognize the
McKenna
name.
McKenna Grace and Celeste O'Connor are in the movie as well. They were both in the 2 most recent Ghostbusters movies. One of the younger kids in those movies as well.
Okay.
And then Isabel May from I believe 1883 is one of the Yellowstone spin-off shows. She's playing Sydney's daughter. So that'll be interesting too. Courtney Cox officially signed on. Everyone knew she was coming back, but she officially signed on while we were on our little holiday break. So a lot of it came together. So kudos to them because it did look dire for a second. I thought it was
Hmm.
gonna like completely fall apart. But I'm trusting that Kevin Williamson can do it. I love that he said he just wants to honor Wes Craven. So that's really all that matters. Um, and to people that are upset that they're moving forward with Screen 7 after what happened with Melissa Barrera, life goes on. Movies need to get made.
Yeah.
Just because people are supporting Screen 7 doesn't mean they are supporting that she got fired. Like two things can be true. I don't think she should have been fired at all. Like if it was up to me, they would have been continuing her story,
Hmm.
and Jenna Ortega would be involved too. Um, but
Be
that's
a whole
just not
different
how.
movie.
Yeah, that's not how things went. And for fans of Scream to have it be more of a Sydney Nev Campbell focused story, Gail Weathers focused story, that might be better. Um, my excitement level is kind of like in the middle right now though, because I just kind of build it back up. I mean, I like the last 2 movies. I know you were kind of like iffy on
5, I
them a
didn't
little bit,
really care for. 6 was an improvement, and I'm
right?
still excited for 7.
So looking forward to it. I'm glad it's coming together though. But yeah, I guess in the interest of time, we don't have to talk about Tom Holland being cast in the John Grisham movie. We can save it for later if you want to skip to
Sure.
the trailers.
Yes,
Um,
lots of trailers came out.
what we're seeing right now is horror is still king in 2025 because 1, 2, 3 4 of these are horror movies, and the other one is just a Jason Statham movie. So we'll start with Hard Eyes. Hard Eyes.
Yeah.
What did you think when you watched the trailer? Because I actually loved the teaser they came out with like some time ago, and I thought this official trailer was actually pretty good as
Well,
well.
my first thoughts were, did we not, or did you not, I should say, give you proper credit that the last year when or maybe it was around the time Thanksgiving came out, I think you mentioned that Valentine's Day was one of the last holidays that didn't have a serial killer movie. Or no, it was My Bloody Valentine. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah,
Maybe it
might have
wasn't
been like
Valentine's Day.
different holiday, but yeah, because it has My Bloody Valentine, and the original
Right.
and remake, and then there's a movie
You
called
had
Valentine.
mentioned, yeah. Well, you had mentioned some holiday that didn't have
Maybe it's Boxing
a
Day.
horror movie dedicated to it. Maybe it was perhaps, but then it was all in the vein. I think we were talking about the inspiration of Thanksgiving and might it inspire other uh, holiday
Holiday
themed
theme.
horror
Yeah,
movies, and if that is the case, then looks like we got another rendition of a Valentine's Day serial killer movie, which is great. I haven't seen any horror movies based around Valentine's Day. I've never seen either of the My
My
Bloody
Bloody
Valentines.
Valentine's fun. They're both fun.
But all that aside, I thought it's interesting like how often no examples that I can think of does like a feature of a serial killer get the name of the movie and like his look of like the actual light up heart
The Hard
eyes
Eyes.
get up
Yeah,
like that. It's a pretty unique look for a movie serial killer. So I think that was pretty neat and
yeah.
doesn't
And
give away like
looks
I
gory
appreciate
as
the
fuck
trailer.
too.
Yeah. Gore, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Looks violent. The trailer didn't give much away in way of the plot. It showed a few things. Like I think it shows some scenes that are going to be quite far in the movie that if I'm crafting a trailer, I wouldn't go that far. But it,
yeah,
it doesn't give much away, so I won't hold it against it. But it's a well-made trailer. I think it's going
yeah.
to be cool to see another holiday themed slasher movie, I'm on board for that. I'll be there to
Yeah,
check it out.
I like the
And
use of "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You" in the trailer as well. The song
that was,
use is
yeah,
pretty
very
good.
great trailer music for sure.
Yeah. And for those, the premise, they're pretty light, but it says coworkers working late on Valentine's Day are mistaken for a couple by the infamous Heart Eyes Killer. It stars Mason Gooding, who we were just talking about,
Okay.
Olivia Holt, Devin Sawa, you might remember from like the Final Destination movies, and Jordana Brewster
Jordana
from
Brewster, love
the
that.
Fast and Furious movies. So good on that. It looks fun. I don't know. I can see it doing well. I wonder how well a lot of these can do. A lot of these horror movies that we're talking about come out within like weeks of each other. So I don't know if they're like kind of cannibalizing each other because it's a lot of them open within weeks. So hopefully there's room for all of them. But I can see
I
this
hope so
one like
too.
I can see this one open because it's good that they're opening it a week before Valentine's Day, so they can take advantage of the actual
Hmm.
date the next week. But yeah, it
This is one
opens
I'm
on.
dragging my girlfriend to because I love
It'll
taking
be
her to the
fun.
movies, and
Yeah.
it's Valentine's Day, so I feel like this will be a great compromise. She'll get
Yep.
the movie date, and I get a horror movie slasher
Movie.
date out of her. So
Yeah. It opens on February 7th, and also kudos to that last scene in the trailer where I think someone gets stabbed in the mouth with a tire iron, and then they have the shot of like the heart eye,
yes,
like which reminded me of that shot from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake where the girl shot herself in the head, and
that's
yeah,
a great point. Um,
yeah,
Actually, I'm just seeing this is written by Christopher Landon. Is he not one of the?
yeah, he did
Where do I?
he did work on Disturbia. He also did Happy Death Day to You,
Maybe
Freaky.
that's what I know him from. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love Happy Death Day. He's really good at horror comedies, which
Oh, he wrote the Paranormal Activities, at least five of them.
yeah,
Okay.
and I love Happy Death Day. I don't know if you ever saw that, but that's
I've
pretty.
not, but that
They're
might
both
be
pretty
where I've
fun.
seen his name most recently.
Yeah, he's pretty. And he was going to direct Scream 7, so that was a fun segue.
Oh, okay, that's what. Okay, so when I read his name, I thought, is he one of the Radio Silence duo? And it's because I was thinking of Scream. I'm like, why do I recognize his name? Why am I associating it to Scream? That must have been why. Okay, thank you for clearing that up. So yeah, he's part of the writing team
Yep.
on this movie, and Josh Rubin directing. That's a name I don't know that I know. Just
Let me
looking at
see
his
if he.
filmography. Oh, he's doing. Oh, he did an episode of the Creep tapes from last year, which I haven't seen yet, but I've seen Creep. But I
Oh,
don't think
nice.
he's been busy though.
Oh,
A
good for
lot of
him.
credits in the 2020s already.
Well, this looks like it could break out. I think it's potential to make
Yeah,
some money, and I love that slasher films are still going strong.
I
So
know. Me too.
I'll take it.
How
Yeah.
about Companion?
Um. So I had some reservations about sending you this trailer because the teaser trailer was so much better because it didn't really give away what the movie was about. I don't know if
Right?
you actually watched the first teaser trailer, but it was basically just Jack Quaid and the girl sitting at the table, and she's kind of just like I think handcuffed or tied to it, and you didn't know why. And that's all it was. I think it was like a little over a minute.
I
This
didn't see the
trailer,
teaser, but I did see this one that you'd sent me today.
this trailer gives away, I guess, what the movie really is. But I still think it looks really interesting, really cool kind of idea of like I don't want to call her like a sex bot, but like girlfriend
Yeah,
bot gone like
feels very
not not
timely.
that not necessarily wrong, but like becoming self-aware and like being self-aware that's being used as like a yeah yeah a companion in that regard. So
Right.
it looks really good. It looks really funny, and Jack Quaid's in it. Always a welcome presence, and
Yep.
Sophie Thatcher plays
Sophie
Iris, the
Thatcher
girl.
is awesome. Just saw her
Yeah,
recently in Heretic. She was fantastic.
yeah,
So
yeah. She was really
great
good in
that I'll
that.
have, yeah,
Yeah. Did you
nice to
like
have
the
her in
trailer?
something so soon. I did like the trailer. Honestly, when I watched it, I didn't. I guess maybe because I saw some other trailers that we're going to be talking about, that I thought gave more away. I thought
Yeah,
Companion was like just vague enough. Like obviously, it's pretty upfront about her being some sort of AI and getting unleashed and enhancing herself, and things are going to go wild from there. So the trailer
yeah,
doesn't hide that, and it shows some late movie sequences, no doubt, but very flashy and quick and with
yeah,
no context behind them. So I still came away from the trailer being like, I still don't feel like I have a great grasp of what's going on plot wise, which I was happy. And
yeah,
just some of the reviews that are flashed through towards the end. what some critics are saying about it, you won't be prepared. You're not prepared for what you're going to see and all that sort of thing. It does look pretty like groundbreaking, and I love like the
Yeah.
timely plot aspect of like a girlfriend robot. Like that's something we're seeing more and more about
Yeah.
in today's age. So I think that's kind of cool. It's only a matter of time before that made its way. And even I think Megan Fox is in that movie where it's sort of
I
the same
heard.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
subservience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been
Um,
tackled before, but this feels pretty like I don't know, the level I guess that we would kind of flock
yeah.
towards.
Yeah, and it's produced by Zach Kreger, who did Barbarian. So
Mm,
there's
love
that
Barbarian.
added element to it too. But yeah, like they said, the movie is a sci-fi thriller about an android named Iris who discovers her true nature. The movie explores the relationship between humans and artificial intelligence and how AI can go wrong. Which, like you said, makes it very topical.
Mm.
But yeah, it looks good. And early reviews for it, they flashed some of them on the trailer, but there's also a lot online that you can look up that a lot of people who saw early screenings of it said that it's very, very good. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, like all these released, like this comes on January 31st. So you would think that like they're dumping it. But I mean, maybe that, at least for horror, maybe that's not always the case anymore. Maybe January is a good time to release some of these movies. I mean, Wolfman comes out this weekend. That's
Yep.
mid-January. So yeah, maybe that stigma doesn't so much exist, at least for this genre, so much anymore.
I hope so. I really want to like this. It looks really great. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm here for Sophie Thatcher, and her career is taking
Yeah.
off. And like I said, I really liked her in Heretic. So I'm excited to see what she does here. Jack Quaid's keeping himself busy too. He has this and that Novocaine movie that's
Novocaine
coming out
movie,
soon as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
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 So yeah, then we have another horror movie on, and
Yeah.
this one comes from Blumhouse, so
Mhm.
that might make you feel not so great
It
about
did.
it.
As soon as I saw the
But
call card in the trailer, I thought, oh,
it's called The Woman in the Yard. It's actually basically just a teaser trailer. It doesn't really give a lot away, which is good, I think. It's a psychological horror film, and it follows a family that discovers a strange woman dressed in all black and finds that she's been staying in their yard stationary. The strange woman appears harmless initially, but horrors are soon to follow. It's directed by Wame Colette Serra, who actually used to do a lot of horror movies before he started doing action movies with Liam Neeson and The Rock. He directed the House of Wax remake. He did The Shallows. He also directed, what was
okay.
the other one? He also did Orphan. He did the first Orphan movie as well. Um,
Oh,
but he's done a lot of Liam Neeson movies like Unknown, Nonstop, Run All Night, The Commuter, and he also directed the Jungle Cruise and Black Adam. And he did the recent Netflix movie Carry On. So he's going back to horror for this.
okay.
Um, I think it's a decent teaser trailer, especially for Blumhouse lately. That's
I think it's a
that's
decent teaser. I
the
agree.
most positive thing I could say about it. Like, because like Blumhouse has been like not that great lately, but I'll give it that. I'll give it not giving a lot away and being eerie enough where I'm like intrigued by what it is. Like the whole, I think it was towards the end of the trailer where I guess the woman in the yard says "Today is the day" and like whispers and like puts her hands out and they're all covered in blood. I mean, I
Yeah.
thought that was cool little nugget.
I
You don't look as impressed.
I'm not. I just have my guard up, and with it being Blumhouse and sort of the stuff they've produced as of late, and I feel like it's because I agree. Like I'll give it like the trailer is intriguing, and I think it's an effective teaser. But I feel like it's going to be the case of the trailer's better than the movie. But I don't want to write this movie's fate before I even give it a chance. So will I
Yeah,
see it? I'll probably, depending on what March release calendar looks like, maybe I'll make the time to go see it in theaters. I'm trying to get in as many new releases as possible this year, where I had such a big gap and didn't have the
yeah,
chance so much in 2024. Um, and I'm down for a horror movie, and I think it looks creepy enough, and it's cool like that the director has his roots in horror, and some of those movies I've seen, some I haven't. So
yeah.
we'll see. Maybe I'll see what you have to say about it before I decide to go to the
Where
theater.
you
But this
going?
is March 28th, so there's still some time, and I'm sure they'll put out another trailer before then.
You haven't seen
But
House of Wax,
Blumhouse
have
needs
you?
a hit, that's for sure. Blumhouse needs a win.
They do for sure. Have you seen House of Wax, the remake?
I did, yes.
Okay,
Eh.
actually, like, it has an anniversary this year. I love
Oh,
that.
okay. Well,
It's
I
one
would
of those.
revisit it.
Well,
This was years ago.
it's one of those things where it's like it's so bad, it's good. And
Maybe
then
I'll
and I
watch
think
it as a comedy.
when we saw it in theaters, it was so much fun because like this was when Paris Hilton was like Paris Hilton, and she leaned into the marketing so well. She actually made T-shirts that say like on March or May 5th, like "Go see Paris die," and I thought that was like really like
Oh,
smart of her because she realized that
nice.
everyone doesn't love her at the time, you know. So yeah, he has like I mean, I actually thought The Shallows was pretty good. Like when it comes to like shark movies, there's Jaws and everything else,
Yeah,
and the Shallows is actually pretty decent.
for sure.
But yeah, I'll give it a shot. It comes out March 28th. So there's
Hmm.
that, and our last horror movie trailer is
The
for The
monkey.
Monkey. It's a Red Man
This
trailer, which makes it look more comedic than I thought it was going to
this one
be.
I'm conflicted about.
I
I'm
like the
all
teaser trailers a lot more than this one.
I like this trailer, but what I'm disappointed in is how much it's showing, and I don't like that. Like I even thought the teasers were showing some of the highlights of the movie in terms of like the
Yeah,
death and the gore, and I don't need to know when I'm seeing a character. When and I'm definitely seeing this movie in theaters. I'm super excited for it with Oz
yeah,
Perkins being hot off of Long Legs, and adapting a Stephen King short story. That's just a great match. So I'm seeing
yeah,
it. I don't want to, like, as soon as I see a character and I already know their fate because of the shows in the trailer, that's such a piss off. So when you sent it, I debated even watching it because I'm like, I don't need more of this movie spoiled, but I'm like, I'm not gonna not watch it. Like,
and
I'm happy to
I
talk
fucked it
about the
up.
trailer. No, not at all. My decision to watch it, but it reminded me of why I'm trying to like stay away from full length trailers because they just show so much. So I thought it was a great trailer. I'm excited to see it, but it was so non-restrained that it just showed
Yeah.
enough. What did you think though? Like, is that something about trailers that even bothers you? Do you think about that, or
No, I don't like when they
am
give a
I
lot
taking it
away
more
either.
seriously? Yeah,
No, I don't like because like it opened with which would have been a cool, surprising, I guess, death in the movie. Like the way that trailer opens with him
agreed.
asking that lady about like if she found like an old antique like monkey like in the house,
Hmm.
and then they has a little the drumming thing, and then like the I guess it looks like a gunshot goes off. That would have been fun to see, like not spoiled,
Right.
because I
It's a
would have been kind of
shocking
like
moment in the
yeah,
trailer, let alone what it would have been like in the
yeah.
theater.
Yeah. So that was kind of annoying because like in the theater that would have been a fun like thing to see without knowing what's going to happen. I also
Hmm.
I guess I didn't understand like the tone at until now. Like it seems like it seems partly comedic too. Like it seems like it's being played for like dark humor, I think.
Agreed.
And I didn't know that, and maybe the short story is like that too. I mean, I'm not really familiar with the short story at all, um, but I think I was surprised by that angle. But it did show a lot. Like it showed like either potential character deaths or like potential character deaths about to happen, and like it. I
Mm.
mean, and like I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it, but I am down with like the style. It seems like it doesn't have the same like you know mysterious vibe as Long Legs, but it seems like the
No,
way they're
not at
promote.
all.
But it seems like the way they're promoting it, like just like the sound design, all that stuff, seems very much like maybe that's just Oscar
Mm.
Perkins like thing, as far as like doing his movies this way. I love that it's like different from Long Legs because like maybe it shows like and like you said, I need to see his other stuff too because I haven't.
Hmm.
But I'm so excited to see it. I just was like not expecting the tone of it, and then I kind of wish it didn't give away everything either,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Still a good
But maybe it doesn't. But
trailer.
maybe it doesn't. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe there's
maybe
more
true. There's
surprises.
always misdirection, and we don't know yet. But um, yeah, it's effective. Like I'm going to go see this movie based on those teasers alone. This trailer didn't
Yeah,
need to spend all that screen time to hook me to go see it. Like
yeah,
Osgood Perkins is like a claim from Long Legs and some effective teasers. I think are good enough. So
would
I
have
think
been
the
enough.
studio kind of blew it a bit by like putting out a trailer that's so revealing. But I get that not everyone is going to consider those things, and
Yeah,
that might be the only trailer that a lot of people end up seeing, and they might not have seen Long Legs, and that needs to be their hook to get people into the theater. I get
yeah,
that, but as someone that should know better, I'm like, oh, that's just annoying, but whatever. It was a good trailer, and I'm looking forward to it. I think Theo James playing a dual role is going to be an
that's
interesting
really cool.
challenge
Yeah,
for him
yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah. He's really come a long way
he
because
has.
I think I remember like the first thing I saw him in was Divergent,
Mm.
and thought he was going to be like one of those guys that you just forget about, and nope, he ended up on White Lotus, and he was really good on that.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't know he was in there.
Yeah, season 2. Yeah, he was really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it comes out February the 27th. Yep. So 21st, February 21st. A lot of horror movies between like now and mid-February.
Definitely.
And this last one is Jason Statham just being Jason Statham.
Yep.
I don't know what to say about it other than he trends the most on our website. So
Really?
whenever if you can come up with a feature to write about Jason Statham, you get paid pretty well for it because it gets a lot of traffic. I'm not sure what it is, why people love him so much. Maybe it's just because he reminds people of like a throwback to like
like the
action
70s,
heroes
80s
gone
action
by.
stars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta
But
say,
what
he's been a pretty constant. I've been following him since his Transporter days in like the early 2000s. Because those are some movies that I grew up with, specifically the first one. And
yeah.
to see him still pump out some reliable action like 20, 25 years later is like pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I
So this
gotta
movie's
say,
called
I do like him.
Working Man. It's directed by David Ayer. They did The Beekeeper together, which made a lot of money last year worldwide. So I guess that's why they're doing this. It's based on a 2014 novel called Levon's Trade by Chuck Dixon. Oh, what's funny is that it could be based on anything from whatever era, but it looks like every other Jason Statham movie. And I guess like I should complain. Maybe if that's your shtick and it works for you, then like why change it? I mean, but it does look like every other thing that he's done, and I
It
do
does.
kind of, I do kind of love that he leans into the fact that there's not a lot of range there. Like he just plays who he plays.
Yeah.
Um, so I can't really say anything negative about it. I'm not gonna rush out to see it, but I actually never have a bad time with his movies. Like when I end up watching him later at home, I'm like, oh, I probably could have saw that in theaters. Um,
For
but
sure.
like he hasn't done anything recently where I'm like, oh, I gotta go see that right now. Like I watched The Beekeeper at home and that was perfectly fine. I thought it was entertaining, but
I
I
forgot David
probably
Ayer did that.
I probably could have gone and seen it in theaters. But yeah, I mean, what I got from the trailer is like if you like Jason Statham, it looks like you might like this, and that's pretty much all I could say. But I don't know if you have anything more you want to add to that.
Just that I'm surprised that they marketed it as from the director of Suicide Squad when he's done movies like End of Watch and Fury. I'm like, those are movies that are going to
Yeah,
get people to go see that, not fucking Suicide Squad.
that's why. Yeah,
Yeah,
they really dropped the ball there.
yeah.
But David Harbour's also in it. Michael Pena's in it. Pretty good cast. But
Written
and
by Sylvester Stallone. I'm just seeing that
yeah,
too.
I guess they wrote it
Co-written, but
together.
yeah,
Co-written. Yeah, they guess they
pretty
collaborated
neat.
on together. Yeah. So well,
Didn't
now you're
expect.
in. There
Yeah,
you
no.
go.
Yeah. Isn't the movie I'd go see with my dad? I might ask him if he wants to go see it because he loves Jason Statham, and this would be a good time for us.
Yeah,
And
it
I would
does look
see it.
like a
Yeah, it looks
dad
good.
movie.
Jason Statham, like I said, I got a big soft spot for him. You ever see the Crank movies?
Yeah, I actually like those movies.
God, those are just
The first one is like, I mean, they're ridiculous, but
they
they know
are
what they are.
ridiculous. If you know what you're
Yeah,
getting into, then they're a
yeah,
good wild ride. But he is just insane in those. But
yeah. But yeah,
yeah,
it comes out on March 28th, the same day as The Woman in the Yard. So there's your
they'll be
choice
competing.
between those two. They'll be
Where are you
competing.
going to spend your money? I might go see
Um,
both. Who knows?
there you go. Yeah, those are all our trailers. We threw those pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, not
All
too
things
bad.
considered. Now we have box office predictions. It's our first box office prediction of the year, and we're doing it for Wolfman,
Yeah,
which opens. Actually, there's some showings tonight. I'm going later tonight, and probably the first big movie opening of the year so far. Den of Thieves Part Two opened decently last weekend. Um, I wouldn't call it a big movie, but
yeah. I didn't even
it
see any promo for that movie.
yeah,
So
it opened all right. It has a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's mixed. And the
okay.
reviews I read aren't like horrible that are bad. They're just like, it's more of like characterization that they have issue with. And then they're also comparing it to The Invisible Man, which Lee Winnell did a great
Yes,
job of like updating and adapting for a modern audience. And like, that movie, he really touched into some stuff in The Invisible Man where there was also elements of like kind of talking about domestic abuse, and like it was more than just a horror movie. It had like a lot of deeper things
agreed.
going on in it. I guess this one doesn't go as deep, or when it does try to go deep, it's very obvious why it's going that deep. Um, so there's not much we can really compare. I guess the best thing to compare it to would be The Invisible Man as far as box office. Bear in mind that The Invisible Man opened, I believe, a couple of weeks before theater shut down in 2020.
Oh
So
wow.
it probably could have made even more money than it did. But it opened to 28.2 million on February 28th. So actually, like that was right before COVID hit and everything shut down. Ended up making $70 million domestic and $144 million worldwide. Probably could have made a lot more money in that if it wasn't like kneecapped by COVID.
Right.
So I guess that's the best thing to compare it to. Lee Wynell's last horror movie. And updating a Universal movie monster. So
which he's done before and did it to great effect. I loved The Invisible Man. In fact,
I
it's
love it
really
too.
due for a rewatch. But his movie Upgrade, too, I'm going to exclude Insidious Chapter 3 from his directing filmography. But
Yeah.
his last two feature films with Invisible Man and The Upgrade are very different, but amazing. Love what he does behind the camera. He's also acted, he's written, and like he's a co-creator of Saw. His career, he's very influential in the horror genre. So I am very excited to see what he does with this take on Wolfman. I haven't seen the 2010 version, but this one looks more akin to like something that I
the
would
one with
enjoy.
Benicio del Toro and
Yeah,
Emily
and
Blunt.
Anthony Hopkins. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know Emily Blunt was in that, but I've heard it's like practical effects, like body horror. I love werewolves like as characters, so I'm already on board for that. So and Lee Winnell doesn't have to prove anything to me. I think I'm going to be on board. So I've been really looking forward to this, and I thought those trailers were really, really well crafted until recently when they started showing
the actual
shots of the creature and stuff in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, you got this far too without showing
hide
it.
anything from people anymore. I don't
Yeah,
understand movie promotion anymore. But
yeah,
anyway, those initial trailers were really, really well
really
done.
good.
And Julia
So-
Garner's great. So
Yep. And I don't know much about Christopher Abbott. I know he's in The Brutalist. But I don't know.
I didn't know he's in. So he's in Brandon Cronenberg's debut, Possessor. That's where I first saw him. And he's in It Comes at Night as well. Both two good movies of his. He's not like huge roles, I wouldn't say, but just two movies I can name that he's in, and they're really good. So check those out.
Interesting too, because Ryan Gosling was supposed to be this character, but he had to drop
Yeah.
out. He is a
Director
producer on the movie,
change as well. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was Derek Cianfrance at one point.
Yeah. I want to ask you, how do you want to count it? Do you want to just do the 3-day, or are we going to do 4-day because it's a holiday weekend? That's MLK Day on Monday.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know what the holiday.
You're like what holiday? Not
a Canadian thing.
It's up to you.
Well, let's just do the 3. Let's try that.
Okay.
Give it an honest shake and see how people show up. So is it the Monday or the Friday?
So we're doing Friday to Sunday.
Okay, Friday to Sunday.
Sunday instead of the Friday to Monday. So you want to go first?
A little out of touch now, and I don't know. Oh, I know January is notorious for like not. I don't doubt the quality of this movie just because it's a January horror release, and like as you said, that trend is more inconsistent these days. It's changing, but I'm still kind of hesitant about like who shows up to the movies in January, and for I don't know. That's where I'm kind of like, well, let me check this budget before that's going to inform my decision. But I will go first just to get it out of the way. But I feel like this is going to be one where I'm going to be way off.
Oh, I guess this is a Blumhouse movie too. Oh.
It is, but I know I saw that too, and I bit my tongue.
Didn't really realize.
Oh, they filmed this. Oh, in New Zealand, where Lee Winnell's from. That's interesting. I'm not seeing a budget. Are you seeing a budget for this movie?
I want to see if I can look up one.
IMDb doesn't have it.
Wolfman. I mean, Blumhouse usually keeps it cheap, but we'll see. 25 million. Found it.
Okay, fantastic.
Not bad.
I'm gonna go for somewhere like in like the $11 million range.
You're going low. Okay.
You think it's too low?
No.
I'm spitballing. I'm gonna stick to my guns, but like I have no idea where to go.
All right, I'm gonna just because it's the first, I guess, significant opening of the year, like that people might want to go see. And horror is usually pretty reliable. I actually had a higher number. I'm gonna go a little lower.
Don't base that off me because I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about here.
No, I'll go 18. I was gonna go 20, but I'll go 18.
Okay. All right, writing these down so we can compare next week. It's been a while since we've
yes, done this.
to
Yeah,
do that. So $7 million gap between a prediction. That's pretty good.
that's a big
Ultimately,
one.
I want this movie to make a profit, but I just don't know. It's not that I don't have faith. It's just I'm more like skeptical about the time of year that it's being released. But coincidentally, I think the release weekend like falls on like there's a wolf moon, which whatever, I don't know what that is, but that's pretty cool. I'm sure that has something to do with the release strategy.
God, I'm just imagining people in like a studio, but like, oh, let's make sure we release this when there's a on the
Wolf moon,
wolf moon.
whatever that is.
Whatever
Yeah.
that is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super
Yeah.
down for it. So I
All
hope you're
right.
right. I hope you win this weekend's prediction because I want this movie to do well. I want Lee Winnell to kind of spearhead maybe a revival of the Universal
Yeah.
Monsters universe. That'd
Yeah.
be a really cool thing that we never really got to see in action, and this will be a second property of
Yeah.
that.
Remember
So
that? Remember that really brief? What was it? The Dark Universe that they were trying to do.
yeah,
It started.
got
It
one
started
movie.
with Tom Cruise, the Mummy, and then like fell apart. And they
Yeah,
actually had that picture of them all together, all the things that we were supposed to get, and like, nope. So yeah, and we'll keep track of these to see who's actually winning throughout the year. So this starts our first one, big $7 million gap, but we'll see who comes out on top. And that is our first news show of 2025. I think it went really well. I thought we were going to be kind of rusty, but now I think
crammed a lot in there. Yeah,
we got into it like pretty well. So that's episode 221 for you guys. All news, and you can expect even more news in the weeks ahead because we are definitely bringing the news show back. This is a big part of Back to the Blockbuster. So thank you for listening in for this very first one. As always, if you want to listen to more of this, you can find us on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. But also check us out on the Playlist Studio app because they are a podcast network and they treat us very, very well. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be posting even more content for you very, very, very soon. I will be seeing Jackson shortly to record another episode really quickly. We haven't talked about the movie in question at all.
no,
keeping up
that's right.
keeping up a very good trend where we have anniversary episodes together and we don't even discuss if the person liked it. So it'll be a very interesting
I've held off my Letterboxd review specifically so we could chat about it first. But yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, as always, thank you, Jackson. It's late over there, and thank you for staying up for one more. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Take care.